I don't know what you thought when you read this title, Passion of Christ in Marriage and Resurrected. Passion and Resurrection. I think with all our life is that we need to see in faith how we live Jesus Christ. It's always amazed me, yeah? After the consecration, the priest shows us, this is the mystery of faith. And we say, when we eat this bread and drink this cup, we proclaim your death, O Lord, until you come again. Death and resurrection. And in Lenten season, we are living that in a very strong way. We are preparing for the death and resurrection of the Lord. And we as Christians will live Jesus Christ. Baptism, we will renew our baptism in the Easter Vigil. That means we are in Jesus Christ. And marriage is one of the most beautiful 7 sacraments. Marriage is there where you live Jesus Christ, and you want to live especially and express to others how Jesus loved his church, how Jesus loved his apostles, how Jesus loves us. And this year we want to see in a very special way the merciful God, God of mercy. And to see how marriages, we want to live that in our life. And we always have death and resurrection. That's normal. Only in heaven we will have absolute resurrection. And I will reflect with you today a beautiful passage of St. Luke. It is the disciples going to Emmaus, the road to Emmaus. Excuse me, I only have one another Bible. If someone wants to have it and read it, also the text here, it's here. It's on, so that you know it's after the resurrection, on Luke, from chapter 24, 13 to 35. And here we see what means two are going together. Two. What it means to have this experience of death, and what it means to have the experience of resurrection. I think we can, by the way, it's very important for you to read, when you read the Bible, read it as a married person. And you will have the clue of understanding many things in a different way. I read it as a priest. It's beautiful. It touches me. So now we're going to talk about, I want to read it and then make some comments. I'll read it. The appearance on the road to Emmaus. Now that very day, the resurrection of the Lord, 2 of them were going to a village 7 miles from Jerusalem called Emmaus. And they were conversing about all the things that had occurred. And it happened that while they were conversing and debating, Jesus himself drew near and walked with them. But their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing as you walk along?" They stopped, looking downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, said to him in reply, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know of the things that have taken place there in these days?" And he replied to them, "What sort of things?" They said to him, "The things that happened to Jesus the Nazarene, who was a prophet, mighty in deeds and in word before God and all the people. How our chief priests and rulers both handed him over to a sentence of death and crucified him. But we were hoping that he would be the one to redeem Israel. And besides all this, it is now the 3rd day since this took place. Some women from our group, however, had astounded us. They were at the tomb early in the morning and did not find a body. They came back and reported that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who announced that he was alive. Then some of those with us went to the tomb and found things just as the women had described, but him they did not see. And he said to them, 'Oh, how foolish you are, how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets spoke. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and enter into his glory? Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, interpreted to them what referred to him in all the scriptures. As they approached the village to which they were going, he gave the impression that he was going on farther. But they urged him, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening, and the day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. And it happened that while he was with them at table, he took bread, said a blessing, broke it, and gave it to them. With that, their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, but he vanished from their sight. Then they said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he spoke to us on the way and opened the scriptures to us?" So they set out at once and returned to Jerusalem, where they found gathered together the 11 and those with them, who were saying, "The Lord has truly been raised, and it has appeared to Simon." Then the two recounted what had taken place on the way and how he was made known to them in the breaking of the bread. Let us see some steps and see how we can go past from death to resurrection, how we can improve in our marriage. That's the main thing. First of all, there were two men that were conversing. In marriage, you converse. And they were conversing what was happening outside of them, what happened with Jesus there. In marriage, there are two types of dialogue. Functional, in order that the house may function. This happens, you're going to buy this, and tomorrow is the birthday of your mother. The house must function. And they were talking about that. And we will see afterwards when they open their hearts. And dialogue means, we will see that later, I open my heart to you, and I receive what you say. You see, from death to resurrection, from a dialogue that's only functional dialogue to a personal dialogue. And they were conversing. And he said here, their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. Jesus came to them and walked with them. Beautiful, 2 and 3 now. But their eyes were not able to see Jesus there. Sometimes we don't see Jesus in the person of my spouse. And it's one of the most beautiful things. How do I find Jesus in him or in her? The features of Jesus that I find in him. Marriage is always this, we love each other the way Jesus loved. And you are going to be Jesus for your husband, for your spouse. And she or he is going to be Jesus for me. That's a tremendous, tremendous task. But sometimes we're prevented. We don't see that. We don't see it because we are selfish. I need my space. I don't want to be vulnerable. If I say that, that's what the other one going to say. Well, we are prevented. I know a beautiful couple. They were long years married, and they told me, talking about them, when we got engaged, when they started dating, he said to her, I will ask you 3 things. Never deprive me of your opinion. Never deprive me of giving you my opinion. Never deprive me of your smile. Beautiful smile. But what do you think? Always, and let me tell you what I think. They didn't want to prevent themselves in order to not understand the other one. It's wonderful the description of the Emmaus, those 2 disciples, how they went on and what happened to them. And that can happen in a marriage too, also. And Jesus asked them, what were you discussing? And they explained, Jesus, what they were discussing about Jesus, what happened there. And they said, first of all, you're not aware of what happened in Jerusalem. And Jesus, perhaps he did like that, huh? And they explained him. We are expecting the Messiah. We were expecting the one who was the one who was going to save us from the from the Romans. The Jewish people, Israel was under the big Roman Empire, and the emperor was the head, and they had a king, and Herod was the king in Jerusalem, and they were not free, and they expected the Messiah to be the one who, liberate them. Now we are free. We are going to do whatever. We're going to live the law for good. In a marriage, one of the most difficult, one of the things that brings the source of difficulties in a marriage is the false expectations. These two gentlemen, Cleopas and his friend, were expecting Jesus to be the Redeemer, the Savior. But Jesus came to save us from our sins. That was his main job. I want to give my life in order to save you and to open the heart, or open the heaven. False expectations. Be very aware of that. What you expect from the other one and what you cannot expect. Be very aware of who the other one is. Limitations. Be very aware of the history of the other one. In German there is a beautiful, very wise saying, each one carries his cradle along. My cradle. Where I was born, my family, where I lived, school I went, what I lived. And your spouse carries his or her cradle along. And be very aware of that. And there are some limitations perhaps. The way in their home they treated, the way they dealt there with money, what happened with when they were sad, when there was a problem there, did they converse it, or everything was hidden? You see, each one has a history, and your spouse also. And be very respectful for that. Very respectful. And it's all absolutely necessary to respect the cross of the other one. There are crosses. But sometimes the other one has a dead cross. And it's not only, well, that's your cross, huh? In marriage, this is our cross, and we take it together. You see, be careful with the false expectations. You know what you can expect, and be very grateful for what you receive. Here, the two disciples, they went walking, and they were expecting Jesus, and Jesus explained him what he himself is. And he explained through the Bible, through the Old Testament, the Messiah, the Redeemer, Jesus Christ, had to suffer. And he explained that this is the Messiah, had to suffer and to rise, crucified and to rise. The crucified Lord and the risen Lord. That is Jesus. That's the real Jesus. And how we deal also with the difficulties of the other one. When we look at God, God is behind everyone. God is behind my spouse. Jesus explained to these two disciples who he was, looking the Old Testament and looking the sufferings. He was coming in order to redeem and to see our spouse also, or his or her cross is there, but Jesus is behind everything. And when you look at your spouse, God is there. God loves my spouse. Jesus gave his life for my spouse. All the sufferings of your spouse, or crosses your spouse has, you will see that this in the plan of God. And I think this year of mercy, how beautiful this year is. It's to see God is behind everything, and the mercy of God. And God has been merciful. For me, it's a tremendous help to see the word mercy in Latin or in Spanish. It's the same thing. Misericordia. Misericordia. And misericordia has two words. Miser y cor. Cor means corazón, heart, corazón. And miser means misery. And misericordia means I have heart to the misery of the other one. I don't only say, oh yeah, please, you've got to change, huh? My heart is moved with that. And when we look at the cross, that's the biggest expression of mercy. Jesus gave everything. He opened his heart because we were miserable, our misery. And never forget a beautiful thing Father Kendrick insists once and again and again and again. Our passport, in order to open the merciful heart of God, is to present him our misery. We had not to go, here I am, huh? Dear Jesus, this is my life. This is my situation. This is my misery. And that touches the heart of God. We never forget beautiful in the Bible, the prodigal son. What touched the father? When he saw him coming, and well, his heart was moved, and he embraced him and he made a feast. He never asked him, what did you do? You're coming back again. His heart was moved by the misery of his son. And you see, to see also your spouse. God loves him, God loves you in a very special way. And especially in their crosses. Jesus explains himself in the cross. And if you look at your spouse, he or she carries a cross, but Jesus is there. Jesus with his mercy is with my spouse. It's going to be different. And then they invited Jesus. Jesus was, as he was going by, go on. Come to our house. Stay with us. What a beautiful invitation. Stay with us. And they, in a couple, in a marriage, in a family, when you invite Jesus, everything is different. And what beautiful thing is, they invited Jesus to where they lived. I don't know if they were that, but let me interpret that. They invited him to stay in their place. In our own homes, we are just who we are. And we are, we shout and we are disorder and all those things, and we are who we are. And we invite Jesus to who we are. It's not, we are very elegant, huh? Sometimes at home we're not so elegant, huh? It's a bit loud at home, whatever, huh? But we invite Jesus there. At home we're just who we are. Parenthesis now. Parenthesis. I used to work with youth, huh? And I told to a boy who liked a girl, huh? Look, you go to her house and you visit her and you are like this, looking how they interact, how parents are with the other one, how the siblings, how they eat, what they talk about, go to the bathroom. And why? In order to know who the other one. The girl is always very beautiful. And the young man, of course. At home? Yeah, parenthesis closed. That's the best way to know someone. Huh? If you like someone, go to visit his house. And he invited the other one to come here. They invited him. How do we invite Jesus to our marriage, to our family? This is who we are, dear Jesus. We open our heart to you. And that's the main thing, to invite him. There's no bypass. And we're going to, in the Easter Vigil, we're going to renew our baptism. And baptism was immersing yourself in the water. And the water is Jesus Christ. Everything will be touched by that water. There's no bypass. And that's we want to do that. Everything is going to be touched by Jesus when we invite him to our home, to our house, to what we live, how the way we live. And we invite him to deal with our finances also, with the way I treat my in-laws, to our sexuality. Invite him, how we educate our children. Invite Jesus to pray. And it's so beautiful, they invited him. And Jesus was there and he broke the bread. By the way, how beautiful Emmaus is, like a mass. First, the readings. Jesus explains the readings. And then the breaking of the bread. Breaking of the bread was, in the early church, the expression is the Mass. We want to do what Jesus did on Holy Thursday. It's Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Resurrection. In memory, and his memory. And Jesus broke the bread. Emmaus is, as I say, the literature of the word, the Eucharistic liturgy. And they discovered him there. How important for us is the Holy Mass. The Holy Mass. And to pray at home. To pray together. To invite Jesus. And to pray, well, we have this problem, this situation. To pray with the kids. It's a tremendous message you give to them. They are beautiful. And to go to Mass. And the tremendous message when you go to Mass and you are on time. And if you want to go to Mass on Sunday, prepare things on Saturday. I know a family, wonderful family. They had 3 bedrooms at home. There were 7 children, 3 bedrooms at home. And on Saturday, the dad prepared the cloth of the boys. And the mother, the cloth of the girls. And it was very in order. Everything they knew at time now, they had to come ahead of time because they 1 pew, almost 1.5 pew, they needed it. They respect, and those children, now they're grown, they're adults all. The message at home. Some people say, oh yeah, God is very important, but they come late to Mass. What is the message they are giving to their kids? You go to job and there you earn money, yeah? And you say Jesus is very important, Mass is very important, and you are always on time for a job and not on time for the church. Wrong message. They invited Jesus, and Jesus came to them, and they were amazed by that. And then Jesus disappeared. And then they went back. And it's beautiful that they say, here, our heart were burning. When you have Jesus in your heart your love is going to be renewed. It's going to be renewed. And they express it. At the beginning, they were talking about what happened there. Now, what happened in their hearts. And that's a dialogue. Dialogue, functional dialogue, in order that the home may function, and personal dialogue from my heart. How I share feelings. Feelings. Never give it for granted that I know what is happening in my spouse. You can ask him. We always change a little bit. And why do you say you're angry? Why did you say you're discouraged? Why are you happy? Ask those things. Don't hesitate. That's it. And the other one, sometimes we men, we speak very little, much less than the ladies, with all due respect. But sometimes the woman needs, and then we talk. How do you feel? What do you think about that? You see, the 2 disciples, they went back, but they shared from their heart. Marriage. The risen Lord and the crucified Lord. And then they went back and they pronounced and they said, and they went to the church, to the small community of those who were the believers and those who had experienced also, some of them, the risen Lord. And they said, yes, we have seen him, and it happened this to us, and we recognized him in the breaking of the bread. They were apostles of the beauty of Jesus Christ. How beautiful, when you live Jesus Christ, you're going to be an apostle of the beauty of marriage. Today, so many things are said about marriage. And everything is... No. Here we find the beauty, the real marriage. You see, in marriage, you always have death and resurrection. You always live that. But be aware, when Jesus Christ comes to the marriage, to the family, everything is not different, but has a different flavor. Some things are not going to change. Perhaps your health is not going to, but it's different. You see, the passion of Christ and the resurrection, both you can live it in marriage. Well, as Luis and Kathy said, boom, I finished my talk.